Just gonna wait for the streaming thing.
Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Do I need to ask that, or is it just a big fat no? As in, how are we doing? I was honestly kind of expecting this, but doesn't really matter. That's why I invited Laura, honestly, so we talk about something fun. But this is Laura Saba, otherwise known as the Active Stick, otherwise known as Ian's co-host. How are we feeling, Laura?
Honestly, a little bit disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I thought that there would be a little bit more, and I think the first period sort of it made us feel like they were in it. Then it kind of went off the rails as soon as they got scored on, which is something that we've seen over and over again this season. And after the highs of the last few games, I think this was kind of it brought us back down to earth. Now Vegas is a great team, but
Yeah,
I'm overall I'm just disappointed. I know we're going to talk about lots of stuff today, but I just want to get that out there. I'm not mad at the Habs. I am disappointed though.
I think that's fair. I'm not, like I said, particularly surprised, but that doesn't mean I'm thrilled. I was I don't know. I feel like this is kind of what I expected out of the young team that they are. But, well, for those who weren't watching and still are tuning in for whatever reason, thank you. I believe the game ended at 6-2. As you can tell from our tone, it was not the Habs who got the six. Um, 6-2s to be us, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so how did you feel about just let's break it down period by period. So the first period, I know we kind of talked about it. We said that it was a good start. And honestly, I
Yeah,
wasn't expecting a good start just because of the fact that they were rusty. And this team,
right.
again, for a young team like this, I'm not shocked by the rust. But they were good. So I was like, okay, this is a good surprise, whatever they did was working. Um, and then they decided not to. They just decided to give it up because I thought things started going bad around the second half of the period. Like, when do you think the things shifted in your mind, Laura?
I think it was like for me in my mind when I'm remembering back, it's like late in that period.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, like there's a lot of bias that goes with this team. It's just for me, the last few games that they won, we talked about how they didn't let up and they didn't unravel.
hmm
And usually they unravel in the second period. It felt like they didn't wait that long this time.
Yeah, yeah. They just, I was joking earlier this season because it seemed like they were finally only really messing up in the third. Because usually we were used to this team kind of just um for a lack of a better term, shitting the bed in the second. Like, let's be
Yeah.
real, that's kind of what it was.
That's what they
But
do. It's their hallmark, right? The
yeah,
games they win, they just forget to do that and then they win the game.
exactly, exactly. And it was, but then they were like, they shifted to the third, they were shitting the bed in the third. And I was like, not ideal. Ideal would be no shitting.
Progress?
But like, I didn't mean for this to turn a lot of toilet talk, guys. But like, this is what the Habs played like. Are you gonna blame me? Are you gonna blame me for what the Habs did? Um, but yeah, I didn't. I was like, okay, this is a pleasant surprise. But I was just not happy because again, this was a team that I don't know, they're young. They should have the energy. Like, it feels reductive to say that, but it really is what it is in my mind. Just this whole players group as a whole. And I would say at the end of the game, the player that I thought was stepped it up was Gallagher, who is not young. I will have you remember. Not sure if you know this. Um, yeah, so I'm just again, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. I think is where we went with this.
Yeah, and it's honestly Brendan Gallagher. It's been so many games now that sometimes he's the only bright spot, and he
Yeah.
shouldn't be. Like
No.
that's the whole thing. He shouldn't be. And again, all credit to him. Like it's been a revelation. It's been a great year for him. We have to acknowledge what he's providing. Like we can't not do that. But just to me, like Gallagher should not be the bright spot. Like there are
Yeah.
so many other spots on this team that should be bright, right?
Yeah.
I'm expecting things like, oh, you know what, Josh Anderson is like playing not that great. I'm expecting stuff like that. What I'm not expecting is this entire team has no idea what it's doing ever.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, kind
Right?
of let's talk about some of those pieces that we are expecting better from. Um, I'm gonna start with Slav. That's gonna be mine, actually. I'm gonna start with that. We just need more. That's simply it. We just need more. I don't feel like he's uniquely bad in terms of I don't think he's like necessarily causing bad. He's just bad. Like it's just kind of following the rhythm of how things are going. But
Right.
we need a big dog. Like we need a big dog to step up. And like it's just it would be nice for him to have a breakout moment here to really be like,
Yeah.
you know what? Like have the Nick Suzuki moment of like, you know what? I'm just gonna stand up and I'm gonna do something. Like I am strong, I'm powerful. Affirmation. I'm strong, I'm
Hear me
powerful.
roar.
I'm a good hockey player. I'm gonna just do this. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, which sucks because we were building, but yeah, so that's kind of how I'm feeling about Slav. Like, what are you thinking?
So I'm wondering if he's still playing through whatever it is that that day-to-day therapy day, 1 week off kind of thing. That's what I'm wondering a little bit because I
Yeah.
think we've gotten so used to, especially last year, he was one of the only bright spots that we could consistently rely on, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about how like that's the conversation we're having about Brendan Gallagher right now. We should be having it about Slav. So I really do wonder if he's still playing through something.
Yeah.
That's because otherwise there's no reason why he should not be full throttle in terms of energy and also just making good decisions because he's got that skill, he's got the smarts to do it. We're just not seeing it. So I don't know for sure, but that's my guess is he's playing through something.
I'm still thinking about the knee brace, honestly. I know that Ian on your lovely co-host, I was gonna say your podcast, but your lovely co-host, I'll give him that. Uh, you're the senior partner in that. I was gonna say you're the David
I'm the
Savard, but
OG. I'm the original.
I was gonna say you're the David Savard to his Lane Hudson, but I don't. That's not fair.
Trade me.
You're the Mike Matheson to his
Yes.
like Lane, whatever.
I will
My
take a
point.
Mike Matheson.
Point being, I just Ian was talking about this about how the TSN cameras caught
It
like
was
Slaff, yeah,
TSN.
Slaff with the brace, and I just wonder if that's going on. Which whatever, I don't know. I don't know because it's also I wonder if that injury is causing like psychologically him to be like frustrated. Because again,
Hmm.
I'm not seeing like frustration, as in like he's just pissy. I'm seeing more just him getting really just these mental mistakes that we're not used to seeing from him in the second half of his what he's played.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's like something's just bugging him and it's thrown him off his game in ways that you wouldn't think that particular injury would bug him. I don't know. Am I just trying really hard to be as easy on Slav as I can? I don't know.
I want to give him some grace, obviously. And, like, I think that's the thing is that you're not seeing that frustration or that anger. What you could be seeing is overcompensating, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's where the mistakes come from because, the old school broadcasts call it squeezing the stick too tight or whatever. Like that's exactly what it is. He might be overcompensating incorrectly and it's backfiring on him, right?
yeah, yeah. So we've established. Laura, do you want to talk about another player who you would like better from?
I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna bring it up because I know, Kay, you're gonna get a lot of shit for it if you do. But I want to talk about it. Like Kirby Dach, like what is going on there?
Yeah.
Literally, what? Like it's like he's forgotten how to play hockey. Like that's what it feels like, right? What like he just there's something missing. It's like it's a
Yeah.
chip. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly what it is. Is it like the motivation chip? Is it the hockey sense chip? Is it the like is his skill just gone? Like it feels like a brain thing more than anything else. It doesn't feel like a physical problem. So I
Mhm.
wonder what's going on there. I wonder like how the Canadians can fix it because whatever is going on right now is not working.
It needs to be fixed, whatever it is. Um, because again, I want to be really guys, you've if you guys have watched shows with me before, you know that I've always qualified my criticism of Doc with he's coming back from an injury. I'm not dogging on the player, so I'm gonna just do etc. all refer to above. You know what I mean? Like I hope you guys know enough to know that like I'm not trying to like just shit on him. I am just sincerely concerned. I am genuinely just like wondering because we we're seeing like brain farts from him. We're seeing mental mistakes. We're also seeing physical mistakes. We're seeing him just not like fight hard enough on the along the boards. I'm just not seeing him use that what we expect from a guy who's like there's players that are big but they don't necessarily play big. So like I'm thinking someone like Armia, who I'm a big fan of,
Mhm.
but he's not a like he doesn't play
He's a gentle giant.
yes, yes. Which is not to say he's not great along the boards. I always find him really good along the boards.
Yeah.
But I mean kind of like in his play style. But it's not even that we're shoehorning Doc into that because we saw when he was at his best at the start of last year, he was doing all that stuff. So there's just it's just I'm seeing Mark, which hello everybody in the chat, but I'm seeing Mark say Doc is playing as if he wakes up from hibernation 6 minutes before each game. Which like yeah, yeah. It's
It's a
just
pretty
yeah.
good comment. Yeah, like I wonder
Mhm.
if he's afraid of re-injuring himself. Like he's had so many injuries. It could be that. It could just be that his body just hasn't physically recovered. But
Mhm.
he might not be playing big because of that, right? Like that
Mhm.
like it's like this subconscious thing. But we see one good game and then six bad games for
Yeah.
every one good game he plays. So
Yeah.
there's definitely something to be concerned about there. Like I'm not at the point where it's like, oh, the Habs should trade him or whatever. No, the Habs should do what it takes to fix it because I think
Yeah.
it's there. When like we like Ian and I talked so much about how the Sens talked about the solution being in the room, and that was like a Mark Bergevin thing. The solution is in Kirby Dach's head. Like that's
Yeah.
where it is. The Canadians just
Yeah.
need to find it, right? Like
Yeah.
this is not a situation where the whole team is in disarray because of Kirby Dach.
Yeah. I don't even necessarily think it's like that he's um that there's any sort of like I'm sure he's still healing physically from his injury because, it's a hard injury to come back from. But I'm not that's not and I've said it before, that's not what I'm mad slash disappointed at, you know? Um, that's not what like I'm the dad line, right? Which I'm interested to see what kind of quotes come out for Marty this game. He has some good ones after games like this.
I'm very very excited about
I'm
this.
really excited about that. So if anybody sees comments coming in for Marty, please put them in the chat. I'd love to see them. So yeah, so from Doc, it's like it's also not. First of all, we need to, by God, put Jake Evans back where he belongs, which is with Brendan Gallagher. That line, the third line, put him back there. Or, like, just, I don't know. I just don't think 2C Jake Evans works. Jake Evans works. And Dvorak was frustrating this game, but not more than anybody else. I think he was as frustrating as he could, as the rest of the team could be. He couldn't exactly stand out because there was a long list of contenders. So, yeah, it's just I think when I'd like to, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to remind myself that the last game they played and the last game before that and the last game before that, I would say the last 3 games at least, we weren't seeing this as in, I think we were still seeing Doc on the struggle bus, but the first line. So I was going to say, I was going to say that, I'm frustrated with Nick Suzuki as well, which I am. Don't get me wrong, I am. But I'm just trying to remember that my kind of frustration with Slav has not lasted past this game. I know other players, other people have been a little bit more frustrated with him. I haven't necessarily. Um, I'm not sure if anybody else read Mark Dumont's article, but essentially it came down to dude, just shoot. Right? Like
Yes.
I think it's like, buddy, just shoot. Um, so I'm not necessarily worried so much about that. I'm just trying to remind myself, like, okay, let's talk about this. Any positives from this game? Because I have one in mind.
I don't know. Is Jaden Struble a positive? Him getting a goal finally?
Huh.
Emil Heineman. Sorry, I was like, as you were,
Yes.
calling them out. I was like, let me see if our boy now, Emil Heineman, one of our listeners called us on it because we said he might sit for RHP when he comes back, and
Your mail,
thank
I
you to that
guess.
listener.
Yeah.
Yeah, because on the Friday episode, like Ian rattled off some stats, and I was like, I didn't know this guy could do that. So great. So he to me, I just looked it up. He was not disappointing, and then I was excited for Jaden Struble to get a goal. Right? Like,
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
not? He hasn't had great numbers in the last few games, like Jaden Struble, unfortunately, and it might be due to assignments. But I think I don't know. I'm happy that he's like regularly back in the lineup.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I think he's really earning his spot. I think he's seen that like there are players coming back. And I think he's proving himself. Um, I honestly didn't know much about Heineman coming into this season. I am but a girl, and I don't keep up with honestly all of our kind of prospects or guys in the pipeline, or even the AHL guys, even though I do my best. And I don't know what I expected from him, but for some reason it wasn't this. And I honestly think it might be the Don Cherry in me. I'm not gonna lie. And I hate to say it, but I think I was just like, oh, he's physical. I was not for some reason, which is like not something I like about that my brain did. But hey, it's a lesson learned. It's a lesson learned. I think I really liked his physicality. But my real positive is, and this is going to sound counterproductive, but Monty. I'm I'm happy with Monty. I know that last period was what it was. But to me, I would say out of those, what was it, 5 goals, I'd say 4 of them weren't on him. I would say maybe there's one that he could have done something about, and even honestly, I couldn't tell you which one in my mind. I just think that like sometimes a goalie can't have a chance on something and should do it anyways, which is like a little bit maybe unrealistic, but to be fair to me, I think it's just sometimes your goalie just needs to make a save when they're not expected to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was really happy with Monty's performance. And to me, I'm not sure how you feel about this, Laura, but I feel like when Monty got pulled for Primo, it wasn't necessarily performance based in terms of like you're playing really shitty. I think it was let's save your energy for the next one, because I
Yeah.
think the broadcast said he played something like the last 4 or 5 games, which
Yeah. So he's tired. The dude is tired, right? So
yeah.
that's why he's not making those goals that you're not expecting to get saved, right?
Mhm.
So I would agree with you. Like to me, I didn't think that was Marty sending a message. I don't think that was a mercy killing by
Yeah.
any means. I think that was just kind of a dude needs a spa day, like you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he needs some time off. He needs a moment. That because the few games before that, and I don't know how many games he's gonna end up playing, but I hope it's not like 70 games. Like
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's I don't know what he's on pace for, but the dude is tired, and
Mhm.
he's not even that old, right? Like they're
No.
overworking him, and it's like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I would agree with that. And this is a conversation that we've had before, but you know what? Why not? Let's talk goalies. Let's talk
all
goalies.
right.
I'm going to go into the second period and let's talk goalies because why not? It's not like they've given us too much to talk about, frankly. So,
um, yeah, I
yes,
think I'm
second
still on
period.
the.
Yeah, so thoughts, opinions, faces to make,
um,
emojis, anything?
I think I don't know if the chat's gonna agree with me here because I can't actually see the chat. Only Kay can see the chat. So, hi everyone. But I think the goalies were kind of victimized by the team in front of them. I think that's kind of I think like a man that agrees to play goalie for the Montreal Canadiens right now. Like he's got some balls because
He's
it's one of
really,
the
yeah.
worst. Yeah, it's one of the worst assignments in sports.
Hmm.
It truly
Hmm.
is. I can't think
Hmm.
of very many worse assignments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would say so. I think as a pattern throughout the season, I do think Monty's gotten better. He started off with a bang and then immediately kind of didn't.
yeah,
Uh, but then
yeah,
I think as the team was getting better, which shocker, as the team gets better, the goalie also gets better. Um, so we were seeing improvement. My main concern, as you said, is I don't want him to have to play like 97 games. I don't want him to like. I feel like if they could, the Habs would like pull out more games so that Monte
the
could play
Habs
them.
signed on to get more games to add 2 games to Montembeau's. Like I think they're talking about 84 games a season.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, at this point, like yeah, and like all the GMs are like Samuel Montembeau needs to play more games.
Kyle
Poor
Dubas was like,
guy.
"Come on." Kyle Dubas was like, Let's get it going. Got to get those numbers way up." Yeah. Yeah, I
Poor
think I'm
guy.
just yeah, for me, honestly when Marty pulled in Primo or pulled in put in Primo. Sorry. Put in Primo. I immediately was like, well, that's essentially him saying game's over.
Yeah.
Which like clearly, obviously they scored two, so that was nice. It wasn't game over in their mind. Um, but to me, it was like, yeah, this is him kind of saying that, yep, we'll get a chance if he gives us a chance, but I'm not expecting a chance. And I think that's just something for like, that's just not a great place to be, I think. And I don't see anything they can do right now to change it. I just don't think there's anything they can do. I think this is just something they have to live with. This backup goalie, sorry.
Yeah. We did kind of talk about it a little bit. Like, what do you do with the stage? You put this guy on waivers, hope someone claims him. Like, do you call somebody up when Laval's doing so great? Like, no.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what do you trade for somebody? Nobody's gonna take him. You know, literally,
Yeah.
no one's gonna take him unless the Canadians give something up, and they're not in a position right now to give something up. Like,
It's
there's a
not
lot of
that bad.
hard decisions to be made over the next 3 years. Right now is not the time to be making those decisions for the sake of Caden Primo.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not. Like
Yeah.
this season is not one. If the Canadians had a shot at the playoffs and Primo was the reason they weren't going to do well, I'd be like, go for it, trade, right? Like, but this is not. It's just though, like Montembeault needs some rest. He can't play the number of games he's played. Like they are carry pricing this dude, and he is not carry price.
No, no. And even Carey Price, after being Carey Priced, was like, "Hey, my knee. What's up with my knee?" Like, "Hey
Yeah,
guys,"
I gotta
like,
go.
like
I gotta
those
peace out.
like, when they like, I don't know if this was a thing in your school, but for my school, they'd like kids would like do this like optical illusion where they'd like shake a ruler and it would go kind of wavy. Yeah, it was just a whole weird thing where they'd shake like a hard ruler and it would just go kind of. Anyways, that's what prices needed. That's where I arrived. Uh, that's kind of where I got. But Mark in the chat is kind of pointing out that like the Habs have a history of trying to fast track NCAA goalies. I think the
hmm
chat was talking about who was it? Fowler? I think when I say yeah, Fowler. Um, which did you see his full on punch?
I did. I
Shades of
did.
Carey Price, am I right?
Absolutely. But again, you can't rush this guy.
No, exactly. So that's what Mark's saying. You can't like rush him. Um,
No.
so I would just, I don't know, man. Like you said, this isn't a game. This isn't a season where they're, um, I'll put it this way. I think this isn't a season where, they mean to, have to win. Sorry, it took me a second to get there. Yeah. I don't think this is a season where like the management and like upper levels are trying to win, but Marty is the way he is, and I think he's trying to win, which is getting him to play Monty so much,
Yeah.
um, which is not a thing we can continue to let happen. Kind of, I think this is
Yeah.
this weird place where the GM just knows that they're not in this position where they have to do something.
Right.
And so he's not doing anything, which is, in my opinion, the right thing. But Marty is like, well, I have to put my team in a position to win. So I'm going to play whoever's giving me a chance to win, which gasps shock is Monty. So
Samuel Montalvo, right.
yeah,
And that's the thing. It's like, for me, like for me, this just is at the end of this year, the Caden Primo experiment is over. Whatever
yeah.
happens to him, right? Obviously, like we floated an idea that like the Flyers might want him, but I don't think anybody might want him at this point. I think he's got to like
I think
string together a
I think
few good games.
Ian Bower would very much disagree with you. This is something that like he is the only person saying. Like he is the only person I have seen say this. Everybody else, like, no one will claim him, and he's like, guys, Philadelphia exists.
Well, Philadelphia is a goalie graveyard, so
So yeah, I think it's kind of where we're at. Um, for me though, something that timeouts. Let's talk timeouts.
oh,
Why Marty won't use them? Can you tell me, Laura, why Marty will not use his timeouts?
he's collecting them. He's trying to make an art project.
Oh,
He's
nice.
you know how you collect like,
Yeah,
used popsicle sticks? Like this is the I honestly have no idea. I truly don't because like we talked about it before. Like there are multiple reasons you could use a timeout. A
yeah,
lot of them are for strategy, right? Like let's say you're tied or like you're down one, it's towards the end of the game, you call a timeout to like put together a one last Hail Mary or one last play, whatever, right? Or like something happens, you're in this fortuitous situation, like you get a 5-on-3 that you did not expect or
yeah,
whatever it is, right? You put together a play, right? But
yeah,
like, how often is that happening? How often does that happen in a game, right? The Canadians are not usually down one goal because they're usually down multiple goals.
yeah,
Like it's not,
yeah,
like this is not something where like you need to save this for the last 30 seconds, Marty. You don't.
yeah.
So, you know, and the other thing that they do is they change the tone of a game. They
Yes,
calm everybody down after they
yeah,
lose their heads. And I think that's the biggest thing is if let's say after, I don't know, the second goal, third goal, they scored 5 unanswered goals. Like at
yeah.
some point in those 5 goals, like there was a moment to do a timeout. And
By
so I
goal
think it
after goal 2, I was like, this would be a great time. Honestly, after goal 1, because they were looking like they were gonna give something up. Like, you
yeah,
just like you can see it about to happen.
and you
Um,
get them to regroup.
yeah, exactly. So like, why why not just call it then? Because like you said, he's not gonna get a prize at the end of the year. He's not, they're not gonna give like Lane Hudson like two goals in his total just to make up for whatever just happened. Um,
Yeah.
like I know we're all. I just wish that like I just don't get it. Is the thing. I don't understand. I wish I understood. Like that's just it. If I could see a reason for it, I would even if I don't agree, at least there's a reason. I just don't know what the reason is slash could be. I just think Marty's maybe just doesn't like using them. I think that might be what it is. And in that case, too bad. Start using them because your team just doesn't. Your team spirals. Your team spirals.
You need them, right? Like just experiment with that, right? Patrick Roy came in. I think it was Patrick Roy. came in as a coach and started like, pulling the goalie 5 minutes before the game was over. I think that's what happened, right? Like, and everyone was like, "You can't do that." It turns out you can.
Turns out you
Nobody's
can.
saying you cannot do it. It's not always going to work. In fact, I don't think it ever worked, but you can do it. You're
Yeah.
allowed to do it. So just freaking do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I think Martin St. Louis should just like set a reminder, like put like have someone take his phone and put like a random minute, and then it just like it goes off, and at that point Marty has to call a timeout.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that would be more useful than the way he's using them now.
Yeah.
In fact, I should, yeah, let me write to the Habs and say like, do
Yeah.
this, like put a reminder on Marty's phone, just like
Suggestion
don't tell him when it
box.
is. Yeah, just
Yeah.
don't tell him when it is. It pops up on the iPad on the bench. Time for a timeout. Because really, like, what is the point? Like, I don't know if it would have changed the result of the game, but I feel like they would not have let in five unanswered goals,
So at that
right?
point, it's just at that point, you're just honestly, by the end of the second, I was like, well, why are they might as well not play a third. Because again, it was it's Ian who keeps track of this, where he's like, there hasn't been a game that they've won yet that they didn't score first in.
Yeah.
Um, and we're the only team in the league who is there right now. So keep that in mind. The Columbus Blue Jackets, the Chicago
The
Blackhawks, um,
Ottawa
the
Senators.
the Ottawa Senators, which we're gonna get to that, guys. I promise. We're actually gonna have a nice little segment to get all this out. But it's just like I honestly just I'm so just frustrated, I think is the thing. And I think you can just see it. It's the frustration and it's the constant we don't know what's happening. But again, I'm trying to remind
Let us have
myself,
a nice thing.
yes, yes, just let us have it. I honestly I really hate that they had all this time off because not only does it feel like they forgot how they were playing, it seems in my mind I've honestly kind of low key forgot how good the last few games before this were. Because right now I'm
And
just so frustrated that I'm like everything sucks all the time. When I know that like next morning I'll wake up and I will have a much more reasonable reaction to this, but right now I don't. Right now I don't. I don't.
it's being a Habs fan.
It
Honestly,
really is.
it's a time in I guess it's a time in their rebuild that is one of the most frustrating times, I think.
Yeah. 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 Because I think it's like I think this is one of those times where you really remember a rebuild is not linear. Um, I mean, overall, it should be linear. I think there should be improvement just in the big picture, but for every single game, I don't think it's going to be linear because this is just a team that's not doesn't have the talent to just rely on naturally when they are not focused. I think is what it comes down to.
They don't have the maturity to be focused.
That's
And
it.
that's I think that's a key thing too. So I think the Habs main account on Instagram posted a picture of the Habs wives and girlfriends making bracelets for I think it was like their Lucan
Yeah.
uh you know. So I looked at I was like, these are children. Like
Yeah.
every single Hab on this team is so young that these wives literally look like they're 19. And they
Yeah.
probably
They
are.
probably
Right?
are.
Like they're so young. So I
Yeah.
looked at that, I was like, wow, it's a far cry from like, the WAG pictures that they were posting
Yeah.
when like in the Stanley Cup run, right?
Mhm.
Like those
Mhm.
were some grown-ups. But
Yeah.
and I use the term WAG, but I don't find it offensive. So I'm so sorry if people do. Like for me, I just find it as a descriptor. I
Yeah, it's a
think it's a
to
convenient
me it's a
descriptor.
non I don't assign any judgment to it. It's not negative or
Exactly.
positive to me, it's just a descriptor.
It's
Um,
literally wives and girlfriends. It's an acronym,
exactly.
but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I feel like if we were living in England, it would have a very different tone and connotation to it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so like I was just like I was like, wow, it really drives home how young this team is, and some of them are unfortunately they're not the elite talent we require for this team to actually contend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. It's just one good thing. One good thing that I'm just reminded of is how good that second power play unit looked. I think our PK was really good this game. I would
Yes.
say that. I think that's a real positive to come out with this. I saw another really good PK because we had a little bit of time, like I'd say like three,
Mm.
4 games where it wasn't good. But I think the
But it's
overall, like
okay because they
throughout
were
the season,
scoring goals.
exactly. And I think it's like I think this particular PK in this game was really good. And I I just think I don't know what it is about Jake Evans and Yoel Armia together on the PK that they're just like randomly they'll be like, "Oh, here's a, chance the other way. Am I going to score with it? Probably not.
No.
Probably not, but I'll
The
go
answer is
there."
no.
Which honestly solidly like, "Hey, Yoel Armia had one shorthanded goal this game, okay? Or this season so far." So we can't say always, but even a broken clock, I guess, is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
But I think
But
overall,
I
I think their
appreciate
PK
that
is
they
nice.
try.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, even if they're trying, that's time that they're not in their own zone. Like
Yeah.
it's something, right? Like it's a good thing.
Because that also doesn't happen very often. Oh man, this poor team.
Man, I just like I was so frustrated with them that like when they were getting booed at the I think like the like a whole solid four last minutes of the second period, they were getting
Okay.
booed. And they honestly deserved it. They really did. Excuse me. Um I just I think that like the fans deserve better. At home, like the fans really do deserve better because I I've looked at those prices and they are paying handsomely to watch this team, and watching this team just constantly trip over their own shoelaces, their skate laces, I guess, is just like
Yeah.
ugh. So I don't blame the fan. How do you feel about booing your team on home ice?
I think it's fine, honestly, like when it's deserved. And
Yeah,
so the times that I get mad about booing is when it's not deserved, right? Like there have been a few times where Carey Price has gotten booed in the past where he did not deserve it, things like that, right? But in this case, it was well deserved, and it's like it's a Saturday night game too, right? And it's one of the best teams in the league. Like those are premium prices. It's not just your regular Canadians prices that you're paying like
yes.
Tuesday night against I don't even
Yeah.
know anymore. Like I'm gonna say Columbus, right? Because I was gonna say Florida. It used to be
This
Florida.
is
The
our
Florida
second
games
this is
used to
our
be cheap. They're
second
not.
instant of dumping on Columbus.
I know, poor Columbus, but you know what I mean, right? So
Yeah,
like
I know
when
exactly
it's
what
a
you mean.
marquee Saturday night game with a
Yeah.
marquee opponent, like they're charging an extra premium on that,
Yeah.
and it's just it's like, and I think like having been one of those fans one like at times, like if we get a good game, even if it's a loss, I
Yeah.
still enjoy the experience, right? Like you're at the edge of your seat the whole time. There's a possibility that something can happen. They lose by a point, they lose in a shootout, whatever it is. I've been to those games. I haven't been disappointed at spending the money, but like at this point, like I can't justify spending any money on this team.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll tell you guys a story actually. So I've really been wanting to go see like I really wanted to go see the Habs because um I I'm a big like uh, I really I'm a big like history, cultural like context kind of gal. Like I just really like that stuff. Like I could be a nerd about it, which is I think part of the reason why I fell in love with the Habs is because there's such a rich history to look at. Um But I was really, really at that point, I'd been to one game in Toronto and like a few games in Buffalo. And I just really wanted to go to the Bell Center. I really wanted to see a game there. So I planned a whole trip around it. Like I came to Montreal, I stayed for a few days and I got to see a game there and I saw it was versus the Avs. So I wasn't expecting a win. I'll be honest. I wasn't expecting the Habs to have a win. But I remember it was like a close game and like I do you remember Caden Cooley had his worst game up until that
Yep.
point, that game, which was incredibly funny. It was just, it was really funny. But I feel like it wasn't like an overall, it was just, it was, I might be like in my mind just skipping over the bad parts. In my mind, it wasn't like that horrible of a game. So it was fine. I was like, I was mostly there for the experience, honestly, so it was okay. But if I were someone who was living in Montreal and like actually like paid ticket prices on a Saturday night to come there, even on a game like that, I'd be like, Ugh, you know, It's just it's just annoying. I think is what it is. It's just annoying. So,
Yeah. They really need to put a better product out there or pay us back for the tickets. Um, I'd be
someone
down for that
Trizak
too.
in the chat was like talking about the breakaway that we were talking about for Army. Trizak was like, score on it. Armia didn't even get a shot on net with it.
Poor Armia. He tries.
Yeah. Uh, Something that made me so I'm generally like a Armia gal anyways. My friend and I it's I don't mean to offend anybody, but our kind of nickname for it is Army Wives.
Love it.
Yeah, but like I'm fond of him anyways, but I'm not sure if anybody saw, but Line obviously has been skating. I know everybody saw that, but I mean something that I'm not sure everybody saw is in one of the videos you just randomly see a random guy come up to Line and just hug him, like just kind of just like randomly, and it was really cute, and I was like, who is that? And it was
Was it
Yolar.
Armia?
It was, and
Oh.
I'm like, it's just when it's that emotional, when like somebody's showing that much emotion, I wasn't expecting it to be for me. I'll tell you that much.
He cares. Army is the gentle giant thing. I think
Yeah,
is definitely apropos. I'm gonna go and look at those videos now because I did not notice that. I
yeah.
was just all caught up in like line A skating.
It was it.
Please come back soon.
I know, I know. Where would you? I know you've talked about it on your show,
Yeah.
um, but where would you personally put Line A?
I think you have to start him on the second line no matter what. You can't start him on the third line. It's Marty might do that. But I think he's just got too much skill, but I think he will end up on the first line. I think it will be a Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Patrick Laine line.
That pisses me off. That pisses me off. Laura,
Why?
I need them to keep Slav and Suzuki together. I think that's such a good pairing. I find them so they bring out the best in each other, I think. Although to be honest, I think like no, not including the second and third uh periods of this game. I think Nick Suzuki generally does that to players, but I do think that like it's a good pairing. So it just annoys me, but you're right. I think that makes sense across the board. Like it's gonna make sense, and frankly, as long as it gives Doc another opportunity and another look, and hopefully that'll help him. So win-win. So I'm not. I wouldn't be mad. I just make a few tweets about it. I think is where we're at.
Oh no, the tweets are coming. And they're coming at my expense too. I think that like it's very much what you're saying, right? Like because I think Slav and Duck could have something special. I know we didn't see very many games of it, but the few games we did see, they were great together, right? Like when they were being played the way that they were meant to play, right? When the
Yeah.
assignments were second line scoring, depth, but also like bring out the best in each other. I really like that together. So I think they can find that magic again. So that's why I'm saying, I think line ends up on that first line.
hmm
Um,
hmm That would
yeah.
make sense. That would make sense. I think it would be. You need to keep in mind that like Line is not known for his defensive capabilities. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So I think that would make some amount of sense. But uh, yeah. So I'm just gonna quickly show everybody some merch that we have going right now. Um, really quickly, just gonna show you guys a cool slideshow that I was actually able to make question mark slideshow that I was able to make. There we go. Okay. So game over. We have merch. Game over. We have merch, apparently. No, we have merch. We have some really cool stuff going on. Um, there's some we have like the skating line and we have the goalie line. I'm a goalie gal, so when I do eventually get one, which I will be getting one soon, I think I'd like to get something from the goalie line. And there's one for every market. Obviously, you guys are in the um Habs market, so you're gonna look at the Habs stuff, but um we have for every other market as well. We have there's a QR code that should be, nope, there's not a QR code in the stream, but there is, if you go to our website, you should be able to see it in the description of this video. You'll find all the information you need. So be sure to give it a look, and I'm sure that you will enjoy it because really I really feel like there's nothing quite like being like wearing something and someone's like, oh, where's that from, and you're like, oh, let me tell you, you have opened the gates, let me tell you. So okay, so something that like Laura and I wanted to do was have a segment that's just for the girls who are haters. And by girls I mean anybody, but honorary girls. So just because we had a rough game, and I know we both can be insane haters, and like insane as in our skills are insane. We're
Hmm.
expert haters. Um, let's just talk about stuff that we're just really happy about, I guess, or that we're happy to see. So I will start us off. How about them Ottawa Senators, eh?
Oh, I love to see it. Their most loyal fans are turning on them. And as you know, if you have ever experienced an Ottawa Senators fan, they define themselves by being loyal to this team no matter what. They want to be more passionate about their team than we are about ours. Like that's pretty much all they've got going. And even they are turning on the
Yeah,
Ottawa Senators right now. It's not going great, like we talked about it on our show. Anytime you have a press conference to be like, there's nothing really going on, but everything's fine. Everything is not fine.
yeah,
And so, this is the third year that they make off-season moves that are pretty significant,
yeah.
I would say, and on any other team would dramatically improve the outcome. And it's not happening in Ottawa. Like, this is the third year of disappointment. And I truly, honestly, I cannot say that I hate to see it because I don't. I know we're having the
Yeah,
same conversation about the Canadians as we have for the next 3 years, but listen, this was expected. Maybe not this
yes,
year, but the last couple of years it was expected. And this year, I
yeah,
don't even know if it's like not that unexpected, to be honest.
yeah,
But just seeing Ottawa just remain stagnant no matter
yeah.
what moves they make, like there's got to be a curse at this point, right?
There's got to be something going on.
Yeah.
For me, what somebody's saying there's like we're in a glass house and we're throwing stones. Sure, maybe, but at the same
No,
time, I'm
not
like,
the same thing.
I don't think so because I think we are at the point where like our rebuild is not. Nobody thought our rebuild was finished. Sure, maybe people thought we were ahead than where we are, but nobody
Yeah.
was out here saying we are competing or that we are going to make the playoffs. Maybe there were some
Yeah.
people who were like expecting us to compete, and frankly, I wouldn't blame them. I think that was the expectation that was set by the team, so I don't blame anybody for it. But I think this is what I don't want the Habs to become. Like
Yes.
this is what I don't want the Habs to be.
This is my
Um,
dread and my fear.
Yes, yes, this is it. But right now, that's not us. So I'm fine with that. Um, to be honest, one of the things that like is really shocking. Bye, Claire. Good night. One of the things that's like shocking to me is what's up with the goalie situation. This is not the goalieing. I was expecting to see a goalie that I would be dreading to see, which like now that I've said that, he will 110% beat us every single time. But
Oh yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
shutouts,
It's
straight
okay.
shutouts.
It's okay. He can beat us as long as the overall result of the team is not great.
Yeah. So this is the thing. This is not a glass house, okay? I mean, I guess
Yeah.
it is a glass house in that our team sucks and we're making fun of another team that sucks, but
Yeah.
the situation is not the same. This is
No.
not like their rebuild was 7 years ago, 8 years ago at this point, right? It
Yeah.
was supposed to be 5 years. And it didn't work out. And the thing is, though, like they have been making moves. It's not like they haven't. It's just that they haven't panned out, right? Like they haven't been the optimal moves for the team. And there's got to be something because, like, I can't remember who it is. Like it was going on around in one of our group chats. Was maybe Andrew Raycroft? I have no idea. It was talking about how the team sucks and doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, the team sucks and doesn't play defense, right? I think that's fair. That's totally fair. But they should play defense because they have better defensemen in their minds than we do. Um, so I don't know what's going on there. But to me, it just like because every time they have made a major move, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes sense. I wanted that for me, right? Like, DeBrinket, I would have wanted that. Like,
Yeah.
Jacob Chikrin, I would have
Yeah.
wanted that, right? Like Omark, I would have wanted that, right?
Yeah.
It's every single time, and you're like, oh, Ottawa's going to be scary, and then they're just not. They had like a bad coach, and they got rid of that bad coach. So they had ownership instability. They got rid of that, or it kind of got rid of itself. And like Michael Landauer is a great owner, like in hockey history, right? Like, is it's just at this point, like, what the hell, you know? Like, what can they
That's pretty much,
possibly
yeah.
change?
Yeah. Yeah. It's what the hell kind of moment. And again, like I said, this is my worst nightmare for what could happen to the Habs. But right now it's not. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
laugh it up. Right now I'm just gonna
yeah,
enjoy it while it lasts.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the thing is, like, there are rebuilds that pan out, right? So it's not like tanking or whatever being this
No, no,
bad,
of course, of course.
right? So the Avs are a great example. The Penguins are a great example. The Chicago Blackhawks, as much as I hate them, are a big example. The
Yeah,
LA Kings are a great example. If you do this right, it works. If you don't do it right, you end up in a Buffalo or Ottawa situation. And that's what we
yeah.
want to make sure the Canadians avoid.
No, no, that's exactly how I feel. Because speaking of things I can be a hater about, I just really quickly, what's happening in Edmonton? It's not like, to be honest, they're not like, they don't have a huge like winning record or losing. Like they're not. By that I mean like they are just what they are. Um, but it's just I've seen a lot of Oilers fans on my timeline be like they just aren't playing the way they need to, and I think that this is something that's just brings me joy because I'm a hater. But also at the same time, just like this is one of those things with the Oilers that I'm like, this is both like comeuppance because they have such what a great word. I missed using that word. But yeah, because like because they have such good players that you feel like it should just all fall in place around them. But then at the same time, it proves what an elite player can do for you because at the end of the day, they're gonna end up where they end up.
Yeah.
They're gonna go probably far as they did last year, even with the awful start, because that's what elite players can do for a team. Obviously there needs to be more around them, but like when when McDavid and Draisaitl are just in the move of being like we are just not going to lose, it sometimes it works, and I think that's a real that's what elite does for you. Ian said that
Right.
it's or Robert said that it's karma for giving Stan Bowman the job, and I can agree with that. I can get on board for that.
Yeah, I like that honestly, but also it just goes to show what happens when you do not have adequate depth, right? Because as much as those players are elite, sometimes they get tired, sometimes they get injured. They have one off game. If you are a player that is that elite, then yes, a lot of times when you have a bad game, your entire team has a bad game. But your team needs to be able to survive without you a few games, right?
Hmm.
Not like, yeah, I'm not saying like, they need to get injured, but like if they just
No,
have
of
one
course.
bad game or a few bad games in a row, like your team needs to be able to play around that, and they haven't been able to. And I think I think it's a huge lesson for the Habs too. Like everybody complains about how we do not have a McDavid type player or a Draisaitl type player on this team, but it's like, first of all, those are so few and far between. It's not like there's many every year in the draft at
Yeah,
all. I mean, I think the Canadians got one this year in the draft,
yeah,
a player that has the potential
yeah.
to be that elite, right? To be the type of player that can carry the rest of the team on his back. But like,
Hmm.
we need the Canadians need to be good without Demidov, so that
Yeah.
when they insert Demidov, then they become a contender.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. Just really quickly, guys, you can put questions in the chat. We're gonna get to those pretty soon. But yeah, to go back to being a hater, because I from last game versus the Habs, that was the last one they had, right? Anyways, whatever
Yeah,
game it
Monday.
was that yes, the Monday game. Um, I saw a lot of pissiness from from those two big guys. Um, which I'm a big Nathan McKinnon fan, so I am familiar with pissiness. But but like there's like the pissiness that like leads to like that is like efficient. Um,
Hmm.
and I saw a lot of uh I think like I was on a crossover with Graham, and I think Graham was like every player gets frustrated, which true. But sometimes there's something about like really negative body language that like makes me feel like oof, you need to, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um so sometimes I'm just like I'm seeing like
You need a hug.
yeah, yeah.
You need
You
a
need
hug
a
and
hug.
some
You need,
therapy.
yeah, and you need to like if you get a hug and some therapy right now, your team will be better around you. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's just like a little side note of just being like, I know people give Nick Suzuki a lot of shit for like not being like super loud and super like whatever you want to call it. Which like I'd like to remind you, your last captain was also not like that. And it seemed like things were fine. You know. Uh,
Or like the previous few captains. Like, let's just name a bunch of captains in a row. Like, which one of them do
yeah.
you remember speaking? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And so I'm honestly just like really um I don't mind at all Nick Suzuki's demeanor. I don't mind it at all. I
He
think we
leads
have
by example. It's fine.
exactly. I think we have guys in that room who are fiery. We've got guys in that room who are, you know, just like willing to be fun when the moment calls for it. You know, Cole Caulfield notoriously like a really like cheery guy. Um, so I think there's a good level of balance. So let's actually I have a question. In let's say 3 years time, this team is competitive. Who has obviously Nick Suzuki is not getting the captainship stripped from him unless something like completely so I'm not going to even say that. Nick Suzuki's captain. Who are his A's in your mind?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Lane Hudson?
You think so?
Absolutely.
Nice.
I think so. He looks like an 8-year-old, but he does not act like one or play like one. I think he's a grown up somewhere in there. I don't know. It's interesting to think who another one of his A's would be because I feel like a guy who might not be on the team at that point, who might not even ever make this team, is Sean Farrell. But I feel like
Hmm.
he's definitely the kind of player you'd give an A to.
Hmm. Hmm. Uh, to me, definitely, I would definitely, of course, I would, but I would, guess who I'm gonna say, Laura, from that?
You're gonna say Caden Gooley, I
I'm
know.
gonna say Caden
Uh,
Goulet. I
which
think,
is really not a bad choice. It's really not a bad choice. I just feel like Lane Hudson's gonna be louder. Like the
no,
smaller
no,
the person, the louder
yeah,
they are. I'm
I
living proof of
wouldn't put
that.
him like, it's not like I'm not pitting him against Lane Hudson in any
Yeah.
way. I think that that's like, I don't know, I just get that vibe. Also, like,
Because he
he's
has
had
Shea
letters.
Weber vibes.
Yes, yes. So like honestly, I I can't remember. Did he play on the right at he must have at some point in this game. That's a
Yeah.
complete side note. That's a complete side note because I let's keep him on the left, Marty. Let's behave ourselves. Let's remember what the other games taught us and not like one period in this game. So
Yeah.
just a reminder, Marty. Yeah. So I would say Ghoulie and then I don't know. I could see Slav getting a letter. What do you think?
I think I think it's interesting. Like to me, he just seems like a toddler still. So
That's fair.
um two
That's
years
fair.
from now, two,
Yeah.
3 years from now, I might be singing a different tune. But I really do think that it's like Lane Hudson's gonna get one and Lane Hudson is gonna be like really like very fiery.
What do you think about the concept of this is generally we've completely went away from the haterade, but that's fine. We don't need to be haters. It's fine. I've been hating my team this entire evening, okay? I don't it's fine. Uh but what do you think about the concept of some people say that your best player should have the C? How do you feel about that?
No, I do not believe that.
I agree. I agree.
Um And sometimes like the conversation is like, oh, you need to appease him or whatever. Appease him with the dollar amount and the term.
Yeah, yeah,
He's going to be fine, right?
yeah,
Because the captain really does need to be somebody that leads by example. And sometimes the guy who's the best player is just he's a mess. He's a head case, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's sometimes it works out. Like a guy, like for example, Sidney Crosby, like he came out of the womb being captain material, right? Like
yeah,
Sidney Crosby is like he's a freaking nerd. He's intense. He's
yeah,
he's obviously highly skilled. He's even though his voice was screechy and it didn't break until he was 30 years old. Um, it's he has that right.
yeah.
Whereas with Connor McDavid, I question it a lot. Like he is a
I do
phenomenal
too.
player, but
I
he's
do
not a
too.
grown up. Like
I didn't think that was a good idea.
yeah.
Um,
Or like
I,
Ovi, let's be honest.
I don't,
Alexander Ovechkin.
I don't know how I feel about Ovi as captain. Honestly, I think it's because I've seen him there so long that I'm like, who knows? Like,
There were
eh,
other players on that team at that
yeah,
time that would have made better captains.
yeah. I think that like I've seen that sentiment of like the best player should have the C. I don't think that's like there needs to be like there's like a captain has different qualities. Someone, honestly, even maybe a guy just needs to not have the distraction of having to see to be able to focus on it on his own game. Like I think Nick, even if he's not the most talented player on the team, um, when everything's said and done, he's not the most talented player on the team. I still think that like he just has the temperament for it. I think
Yeah.
he has the honestly, Laura, I've heard that he's like spoken in French off camera. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard it that like he does feel comfortable giving interviews, but he's getting more and more comfortable with French, which is
Yeah.
a testament, I think, to his intelligence. Um, so that's something else that I think helps him. Uh, I also think there's something to be said about someone who had a captain who was considered one of the best captains in the league for a long time. Like I think there's something to that as well. I just think this works. I just think this works for
I
Nick.
think Nick Suzuki understands the assignment.
Mm,
I think that's he embodies it. He understands it. He's a nerd too. He's like Sidney Crosby. He's not as talented as Sidney Crosby, but he approaches his game that same way, right? Like he
yeah,
gets frustrated with an element of his game. He spends all summer working on it,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like the guy's already landed. He's got his contract. He's got his C. He's on the Habs. He's part of this core. He's part of this future. He's still practicing. He's still getting better every day. And a lot
yeah.
of players don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. They also apparently shared pants at the All-Star game. Not sure if you knew about that.
I did not know this.
They did.
He and Sidney Crosby.
Nick Suzuki's pants were nowhere to be seen. Apparently his luggage, something happened to his luggage, and they have the same tailor. So apparently they just he borrowed pants from Sid, which like
Sidney Crosby.
in that case, Nick, I need you to wear tighter shorts so I can test this theory. Uh I honestly I'm not even being weird about like I genuinely mean like I don't know I haven't noticed that. So that's your assignment for this for this season, Nick. Yeah, so it's just kind of how I feel. So we're gonna move into overtime for questions if there's any questions in the chat. Um, I'm just going to remind you guys to please like the video and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Uh, I will always be whenever I'm on here, I can promise you I'll at least say one thing that'll either make you cringe or laugh. That's something I'm really good at. And Mark and Andrew are on here all the time, and they're really knowledgeable. And I was able to score a guest who knows hockey, and I'm just we're building something really exciting here, and I would really appreciate if you guys could just be a part of it. We really appreciate we have a lot of people in the chat who are repeat customers, I guess, of longtime listeners, I guess, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, I'm going to look in the chat. Uh, well, first, Haven't watched the game from Francis Tardif. Can you summarize it in 3 words?
Oh.
Um, I would say poo poo, pee pee, and uh, let's count these as one word. Throw up. That's what I'm gonna say.
Great. All right. I was just gonna go with bad, ugly, and really ugly. Well, that's 4 words.
Yeah,
So
no, I'll take it. I'll take it. Ugly.
bad, really ugly. How about that? Bad, really ugly.
Yeah, that's 3. Um, so I guess this is not really a question, but something to just kind of ponder on, I guess. This is by Alexander, I think. Sorry. But how many times this year have we gotten blown out largely because they just can't do anything right, but for about 5 minutes of a game they were otherwise in? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that they more often will either not play like a whole period, which obviously I'm not like being literal about the 5 minutes. I think they're, but like I think like a period is a significant amount, or they'll just kind of you'll see it, see it going downhill. I don't necessarily see like breakdowns all in like that are like in a way that's like, well, I see them have like breakdowns in 5 minutes and then they just don't play well for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But like I don't
Yeah.
really see them come back very often. What are you thinking about? How do these guys mess up?
I think they unravel. Like I use the word unravel a lot on our show because that's what happens, right? They do okay for a significant period of time or a measurable period of time. And then they just unravel. Like one bad thing happens, like let's say you're 5 minutes, and it just goes downhill from there. They never recover. Like that's the thing,
Yeah,
they never recover.
yeah,
They don't lose the game in that period of time. They lose the game over the course of the rest of the game.
yeah, yeah. I would agree with that. I think because we've seen them try to come back too, but sometimes it genuinely just feels like they've. It's hard to find some fight.
It's
Sometimes.
like sometimes you're like, "Oh, honey."
Sometimes it's just like, guys, like, let's be real here.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so Ian, we got a question from Ian. Might know him. Not sure if you know him. He's saying, "What is your most? This is a take someone's uncle would have take. His, he says, is that you shouldn't be allowed to ice the puck on the penalty kill. You took a penalty. Why do you get to break more rules? How you? What are your thoughts on that?
Is that like that's like someone's uncle and like three dads too? That take. I think my take is like it's I'm gonna steal this from Down Goes Brown, but it's one of my favorite things is that he wrote this whole thing like back in the early days of his blog, like very early days. So that every time the puck goes over the glass, a bunch of people point, like, and those people should get penalties too. It's like everyone knows the puck went over the glass. So that's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
that's my old man take.
My old man take, I think, is that how do I say this? I think goalies need to how about I'll say it in the most uncle way. Goalies act like special snowflakes sometimes in terms of contact. I'll say it like
Yes.
that in the most uncle way possible. But I think sometimes goalies just like put themselves in these positions where they are getting contacted in and they're like, I can't believe I was touched. I can't believe I was touched in there. Can you believe? Can you believe I was out there and somebody ran into me, guys? And then the entire team fights them, like fights that guy anyways, who accidentally ran into that poor guy who ran into that goalie because the goalie was like 15 feet out from his net. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, guys, we can't just. A goalie should be protected, I think, because of the fact that like there are at some point there were people who'd like just like straight up run the goalie. Um,
Yeah.
yep. Sometimes when you can't beat a team and you're in the playoff series and you just want to run a guy and you're a very large New York Ranger. Anyways, um, no, but
Fuck
I
you, Chris Kreider.
genuinely. Uh, I actually almost Yahoo auto drafted him in one of my fantasy leagues. I was so pissed. Um, so
Oh, I
yeah.
think I heard about this, Kay.
Yep. Yep.
I think I gave you shit for this.
Yep.
I
Yep.
was like, why were you not there for this draft? You knew this could
No.
possibly happen.
I
I
just
also
timed out.
love how it's 2024 and we are still shitting on Chris Kreider because a Habs fan will never forget. I think this it was the anniversary this year of what he did. So
Honestly, it's also like, to be honest, as long as he's in the league and I have to hear about him scoring 6 goals and him possibly winning a cup and all of those things, I will never let it go.
you will never catch me forgiving Chris Kreider. You will not.
No,
You will not.
no, absolutely not. Um, so we're gonna log off soon, but I actually saw something from Robert in the chat that I'd be a little interested in. Someone's like, "Hey, naming one of my top three all-time hockey grudges." What's another hockey grudge on your part?
Oh, Justin Williams, Sakuzai.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think that's a fair one.
Yeah.
Um, oof.
So there's
Sharp,
three,
sharp.
right? Top three? Top
Yes, you can
three?
name another
So
if you want. Yeah.
obviously Chris Kreider. Chris
Yep.
Kreider. Justin Williams. Wait, you were about to name something. You said
No, I'm gonna think about it.
Okay. Oh.
Ooh,
Oh,
I'm a
this one's
petty ass
rough.
person, so I should have more.
Yeah.
Um. Ooh, this is a real, like, you shouldn't. He has nothing to do with this, and it's not his fault. He didn't do anything wrong, but I'm gonna blame him forever. Barkov, injured goalie in that I can't remember what year was it. I think it's his rookie year. No, he could not have done anything to avoid it. Like, it was not his fault. But I will hold that one. And yes, our Arate, I think, said in the chat, Shifley in the 2021 playoffs. Yes.
Yes. All
Yes,
right, that's our top
the
three.
coward Mike Shifley.
Mark Shifley.
Mark
Mark.
Shifley. Yes, the coward Mark
The coward
Shifley.
Mark Shifley.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
illegal to say the words Mark Shifley without saying the words the coward before that.
Exactly, exactly. So that's it for us tonight, guys. I think we had a great time despite the Habs doing what they did. Um, thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday when you could have done literally. I know a lot of people turned off this game. So if you turned off this game and joined us anyways, thank you so much. I was really excited to have Laura because this is, I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but it's Miss Saturday Night. So we got her on, and I'm really excited. I will have you back, Laura. I have I am not letting this go. You are gonna be back, whether you like it or not,
I will
ma'am.
absolutely be back. Absolutely. You've done two of our shows. I will at least do that.
Yeah, and Laura, would you like to tell everybody where they can find you? I'll put the information down below anyways, but if you want to just let them know.
Yes, absolutely. Our show is called Locked On Canadians. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast. You can find us on YouTube. We are on YouTube. We're also all over social media as Locked On Canadians on Blue Sky, Instagram, our Gmail, TikTok. We're all over there. We've migrated away from Twitter, so you'll still find our Twitter account, but we're really just active on Blue Sky now. And you can find my wonderful co-host at Maybe It's Ian, and you'll find me at The Active Stick.
Yep. Great follows. Very much. I really enjoyed the daily shows, you guys. It's really like I honestly
Thank you.
somebody in the chat earlier was like, I feel bad for Laura because she's gonna have to talk about this game twice, and I was like, yep.
I
I was like,
know.
a real, yeah, my commiserations to you. Yeah, but it's a great show, guys. Check it out. I am the kind of
Thank
person
you.
who always wants to consume more and more hockey content because I love smart people's opinions, and these are two very smart people on the podcast. So yeah, be
That's
sure
all
to catch them.
Ian. I'm just there.
Laura, listen, there is no Locked On without Laura because as long as I've known Locked On Canadians, you've been on there. You've been the constant. So we need you. Um, also, I need you around to just generally. It hasn't happened in a while, but every once in a while we get a Josh Anderson shout out. Just in terms of handsome face. So you know
Mhm.
what? I can appreciate that. I can really appreciate that. So yeah, thank you guys for staying on, and I really appreciate you joining us. And have a nice night. I hope that the next game is a lot better. Andrew will be on the next game. I believe It is Tuesday. Um, so yeah, you will see him then, and thank you so much. All right.